During World War II, Germany developed a weapon that was the largest cannon ever used on the battlefield in the history of the world. Yes, so huge that it took 5 separate trains to move it from one place to another. You can imagine that just firing a single shot required a huge amount of preparation and months upon months of time. And that's not all. It would have required over 4,000 people to operate. And the name of this terrible weapon is Gustav. This cannon was made by the huge German company Krupp. Their goal was one: to make a weapon that could destroy the enemy's strongest concrete bunkers, fortresses, and even underground fortified places from a distance.
Now imagine a cannon standing in front of you that is about 47 meters long. That's about the length of 8 tanks lined up one after the other. The barrel alone was 32 meters long, and its mouth was so large that a person could easily fit through it. It wasn't just big. It was the size of an entire building, that it was not possible to place it on ordinary ground. For this, 4 parallel railway lines had to be specially built. The cannon sat on 2 lines, and the huge cranes that were used to place its parts moved on the other 2 lines. The whole setup was a kind of engineering thing, which is not only for war, but also a living example of how far the limits of technology can go. Taking this cannon from one place to another was another huge operation. It had to be disassembled into about 25 large parts. Then those parts had to be taken on separate trains. Then they had to be reassembled at the new place. And this whole job took about 6 weeks to do. Think about how important this time is in a war. Thousands of people worked during this whole process. Some were setting up trucks, some were assembling parts, some were making bullets. The whole place looked like a small city. Such a big arrangement just to fire a cannon. This proves how unusual it was. It was not just a weapon. This cannon weighed about 1,350 tons. It was so heavy. It was a whole system. Now let's come to the most terrifying part, its bullet. This cannon had a high explosive shell about 8 meters long, and it weighed about 4,800 kilograms. When this shell was fired into the air, it would hit about 40 kilometers away, and when it hit the ground, it would create a hole about 12 meters deep. That means an entire building could be lost in that hole. This cannon had such power. There was another type of shell called armor piercing, and it was even heavier, about 7,100 kilograms. This shell was made in such a way that it penetrated deep into the ground and then exploded. That is, without breaking anything outside, it penetrated inside and destroyed the entire structure. Tests showed that it could penetrate an entire bunker of about 10 meters. That is, even the strongest bunker in the world was not safe in front of it. The bullet of this cannon could go so far that it was possible to hit a target object about 40 to 45 kilometers away. That is, it could be hit from one city to another. For that time, it was an incredible technology. But behind this power was a huge limitation, which later changed the future of this weapon, because firing a bullet was not so easy. Each shot was a separate operation. First, the barrel had to be lowered, then the huge shell had to be loaded, then the propellant had to be inserted. The whole process was quite slow and complicated, and had to be done with great care. As a result, it took a lot of time, and it became difficult to keep up with the fast pace of war. And when this cannon fired, its sound was so loud that it could be heard from a long distance. All the surrounding buildings would collapse. The ground would shake. Many times, people couldn't tell if it was an explosion or an earthquake. It was a sound that could not only be heard, but also felt. And this terrible cannon was used during the siege of Sevastopol,